Stay with us. We're going to hear from your former Home Secretary, James Cleverly. Let's go and join him this morning. We say hello. Good morning to you, Mr. Cleverly.
Good morning, Eamon. Good to talk to you today.
Good. And will we be seeing your name on that list tomorrow for Conservative Party leader?
Well, I've always believed that you should do the jobs that you need to do in the order that you need to do them. So nominations open tomorrow. So thoughts and activities about the leadership of the party, in my mind, start tomorrow. Today's work is about making sure that I discharge my duty as the Shadow Home Secretary. I'll be at the dispatch box later on today, holding the new Home Secretary to account for the appalling early decisions that she and her government has made, particularly on immigration-related issues, where they have got off to a really terrible start.
Well, let's talk about that in detail. Incidentally, I'm taking your first answer as a yes. We'll be seeing you on that list tomorrow. But anyway, let's talk about immigration. I tell you what's worrying me, James. These situations that are coming out of Ireland at the moment, these protests and the rebellion there is basically to what the Irish government has done there in welcoming in so many immigrants, illegal immigrants, we're talking here, changing life for so many people. Do you know what I think? I think we're not far away from it in this country, that people here are just, they're going to rebel against this at some stage.
Well, when I stepped in as Home Secretary, I recognised that migration was far too high, and I took action. And I put a series of restrictions in place for visas to bring down that volume of net migration, which was the biggest contributor to migration figures. Labour Party very much opposed them at the time, but when the immigration figures come out in the near future, I think we will see that the actions I took have pretty much halved 48% reduction in the volume of visa applications. So I took action because I know that the UK is a warm, welcoming, generous country, but generosity cannot be abused, and it is certainly not infinite. And I want to make sure that we maintain good relations in the UK, and that requires us to take firm but fair action. I did that when I was Home Secretary, and I'm really worried that the Labour Party will get blown off course by the voices within their own movement who basically want to scrap border controls, which will have, I think, a real negative impact on many parts of the UK and put real pressure on our internal relationships. I want to make sure they don't do that, but unfortunately, it looks as if that's the direction that they're drifting.
You're talking about holding the Labour Party to account, but Yvette Cooper is not happy with your record. She's saying that £700 million has been spent on the Rwanda scheme that has obviously never taken off. Those flights never got off the ground. In fact, Rishi Sunak calling an election 3 weeks before those flights were even set to take off, which was actually meant to be this week, didn't even give it a chance. She says 1,000 civil servants have been working on this plan. It's a huge waste, isn't it, of money and resources?
Well, the figures that the Home Secretary used at the dispatch box yesterday were nonsense. And the problem she's got, she seems to forget that it was only a few weeks ago that I was the Home Secretary. So I know exactly how much money has been spent on Rwanda. And at the point that the election was called, it was just shy of 300 million, 700 million figure, complete nonsense. The fact is that controlling our borders is never free, and the cost of inaction will be considerably higher. We know that there was a backlog of people attempting to come to the UK on the French beaches. We've seen 2,000 arrivals since the Labour Party took office. We've seen fatalities in the Channel, both this week and last week, tragic fatalities in the Channel. We know that there were people waiting for a Labour government. A quote in the Telegraph from a potential illegal migrant saying they were praying for a Labour government because they'd heard that the Labour government was going to scrap the Rwanda agreement. And worst, I think perhaps the worst decision, to compound all the other errors that they've made since taking office, is they announced to the media that they were tearing up the bilateral agreement with Rwanda and didn't even bother to contact the Rwandan government directly to let them know. And that is a level of discourtesy which is grossly inappropriate of a government. And I have no doubt that they would not have acted in such an arrogant and high-handed manner if that agreement had been with a European country.
Can I ask you about a story in the papers today from Nigel Farage, actually, and the Reform Party? He's expecting many more defections from the Tory party to reform. We now know that the Tory leadership campaign is going to be in full swing. We'll find out more about that in November. But how many defections could you be expecting in the next few weeks?
Look, I'm not going to go on television and talk about other political parties. My job is to focus on the government. That is my role as Shadow Home Secretary. I'll be at the dispatch box today talking about the Labour government's failures in the Home Affairs portfolio, and I'm certainly not going to amplify the press lines of other political parties.
Yes, but if you're going to be running for Tory leader tomorrow, which we expect that you will want to unite your party, won't you, after a really difficult few years? And defections to reform is the last thing that you will want to see, surely.
Well, whoever becomes leader of the party, of course, has got to unite the party. You've got to attract back voters who drifted off to vote Labour or Reform or Lib Dem or indeed stayed at home. That is an important function. But as I say, what I'm not going to do, and I don't think any of my colleagues would want to do either, is to give more airtime to somebody who has made it absolutely clear they want to damage the party that I am a member of. So I am not going to amplify other people's attack lines against my party. What I am going to do is focus on holding this government to account for the appalling start to their time in office in the Home Affairs portfolio.
OK. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Shadow Home Secretary. Have a busy day tomorrow. We might be talking to you then. Thank you very much indeed. That's James.